ever wonder why there's this big push now to go after Supreme Court justices, conservative Supreme Court justices? It seems very coordinated with the Democrats. All these attacks on Clarence Thomas and Neil Gorsuch, and then Brett Kavanaugh, John Roberts even. Why? Where did it come from? Well, there's a nonprofit group out there called Fix the Court. They demand transparency with the Supreme Court. And well, one investigative reporter in town wanted to find out more about them. He is the Washington Examiner's Gabe Kaminsky, friend of this program. And Gabe, what ended up happening next is really a remarkable story. So you take it from here. You reach out to Fix the Court and you're doing a regular journalist email exchange with the guy who runs it, right?
That's right. On Tuesday, I reached out to Fix the Court to obtain its 2021 federal 990 tax forms. And that is because I realized that a group called the New Venture Fund, which is under another group called Arabelle Advisors, a very large left-leaning dark money network. New Venture Fund on its tax forms disclosed that it granted $111,000 roughly to Fix the Court, which would mean that Fix the Court should have filed a 2021 tax form because if you do not but instead of that, they filed something called a Form 990N, which is for groups that disclose taking in $50,000 or less. And so I reached out because they should have filed that federal tax form, and I asked if there was a reason for this, or where that tax form was. And actually, the executive director disclosed to me that Gabe Roth, he actually had misunderstood the IRS filing instructions and provided me with copies of his group's 2021 and actually 2022 tax forms, which are not due for a bit. I followed up and asked if Gabe Roth could provide the Schedule B form, which would be the donors. And Gabe Roth actually did provide that. And then a minute later emailed me back using vulgar language.
With an expletive, yeah.
And was not very happy about providing that, and said that I needed to call him immediately, because he was worried about some sort of legal issues, but there are none. And
no, there's nothing wrong with him sending that. He didn't have to, certainly. Let's just be clear. Up until the Schedule B got sent over to you, the other forms, those are actually publicly accessible, right? I mean, that's a part of the deal when you're a nonprofit or a political action group. Some of your documentation is available for public scrutiny.
Well, so the 2020, hypothetically, the 2021 form could have been, but this group did not file federal tax forms until I had reached out. In fact, I don't even know if they're filed right now.
I see. They may have gotten an extension, so these have not been filed yet. So he didn't have to share anything with you.
No, they didn't get an extension. They messed up. Oh. They did not file their tax forms.
Oh, okay.
It was a mistake. Yeah.
But then, so then what happened? Because the Schedule B is not something that needs to be publicly disclosed, and this gives an itemized, detailed list of all of his donations and where it's coming from.
That's right, and he provided the Schedule Bs for 2021 and 22, and I'd note that for example, on the 2021 grants, those could be found on other nonprofit through their tax forms. With regard to the 2022 grants, those would be made available by other nonprofits who funded them soon. But when I spoke on the phone with Gabe Roth, he was in complete disarray at having provided the Washington Examiner with his disclosures. He pretty much went on a rant about how he's a bad fundraiser, how now he's going to get fired, how no one's ever going to fund his organization again. And it was a real glimpse into an organization that is demanding that Supreme Court justices provide more financial disclosures, is in complete panic mode over its own donors, which eventually would become public, being made public.
Yes, I mean the whole reason for this organization is to scream outrage over Clarence Thomas or Neil Gorsuch getting money from people and not disclosing it. And here he's freaking out because he just disclosed the very thing to you. And I don't mean to laugh, but it's funny. It's hilarious, actually. So what ended up happening? Did you publish everything that you got?
Yeah, that's right. We revealed, the donors for 2021. Those could have been sought on other websites, but those were the New Venture Fund, the prior group I'd mentioned, and also a group called the William Flora Hillette Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
With regard to the 2022 donors, which have never been reported, those were the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, the Leibowitz Albert Foundation, and another group called the Weinberg McCann Foundation.
Right.
All that is to say, the group did not take in much money. And in fact, when he said he's a bad fundraiser, he was speaking to the fact that Gabe Roth actually, between 21 and 22, pulled in roughly $242,000 in salary, according to those tax forms, despite the fact that his group's revenue was only, it was roughly 209,000 in 21 and 100 and maybe
So it's all going
70.
to him. It's his own personal fundraising. Well, we got to leave it there. It's certainly a tale of two Gabes, and the one who's got it on the ball is Gabe Kaminsky at League Examiner. That's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place.